Hi everyone, welcome to the first video in our Java series. In this video, we will be trying to see what Java is and we will be trying to interact with the code that will help us identify some of the basic concepts in Java, namely classes and objects. I am not going to bore you guys with some theories, but still I feel it's important to point out two important points regarded with Java. One of which is Java's platform independency. Yes, Java is a platform independent language. What that means for Java is that you will be able to write a code in any platform. Let's say you are writing your code in Windows. Then that code can be compiled and executed in a different platform. If you want to, you can execute it in a Linux platform or a Mac platform, doesn't matter. And this makes your Java code platform independent. So the Y factor is not very important for you as of now, but still, I will try to give you an understanding of how this happens in Java. So first of all, what you need to know is that whenever you write a code in Java, that gets saved as a .java file. And after that, your Java provides you with a compiler. An inbuilt compiler is there which you can use for compiling your Java code. So if you observe here, you can see that at first your Java code has been saved as a .java file. And then by making use of the compiler, you are going to compile that code and that compiled code gets saved as a .class file. And this .class file is known as bytecode, which is neither a human level language nor a computer level language. This is an intermediate language which can be interpreted by the JVM, which is Java Virtual Machine. So depending upon the system in which you are going to execute this bytecode or your Java code, that platform will have their own compatible JVM architecture. So whenever you install a JDK, you know that this JDK is specific to specific platforms, right? This JDK is platform specific, right? And this JDK comes with JRE, which is used for compiling and execution of your code, and JVM, that is your Java virtual machine, which will help you in interpreting this bytecode. This means that Windows will be having their own JVM architecture, Linux will be having their own JVM architecture, and Mac will be having their own JVM architecture. And when you supply this bytecode to a specific platform, that platform will use their own JVM architecture to interpret the bytecode that you transfer to that platform. And that interpreted code will be executed within whichever platform you are serving that bytecode to. So now you have written your code in one platform and it gets executed in a different platform, thus making Java platform independent. Alright. Another point that adds up to the strength of our Java programming language is that it follows OOPS programming approach, object-oriented programming approach. So what does that mean? It means that in Java, everything will be treated as an object. And these objects are like the real life entities which makes our programming language have a much more closer relation with the real life scenarios. You will understand this statement a lot better when we talk about the OOPS concepts, the object oriented programming concepts. Just know that with OOPS, we'll be able to do a lot of complex programming using Java. And these real life entities called objects are derived from classes. So, what are these classes? Classes are like the blueprints from which these real life entities or objects are being created. When I say a blueprint, what exactly does that mean? It means that if I have a class, it will be defining certain properties and behaviors that an object should hold. So I will try to show you that with the help of an example. So let me create a blueprint for a child. So within this blueprint, I will be specifying things like what all are the properties that a child will have. As a child, he will have an age, he can have a name, etc. Let's keep it simple. Similarly, he will be exhibiting certain functionalities, right? He will be capable of doing some functions. For example, a child can sleep function. A child can eat function. and he can walk or he can jump or whatever. So let's keep it simple like this. So as a child, I have created a blueprint, or I have defined a blueprint for a child, and within this blueprint I am specifying the properties and the behaviors that a child can have. So let's say that I'm having a child now, child 1. So when I have a child, what will I do? I will just go to this blueprint, the general definition of a child, and from that blueprint, I will understand that as a child, he should have a name. So I will give him a name. Let's say Tom, and I will give him an age. Let's say 3. Okay. Let's say I have another child, child 2. So as a child, he should have an age and he should have a name. So let's say Jerry 1. Yeah. And other than this name and age, they will be able to do these functionalities as well, right? So as a child, how do I know he can sleep and eat? Because in the child blueprint, it has been defined as such. So from here, can you identify the class and objects? This child with the age, name, and the functionalities defined, the blueprint, this is termed as the class in Java. And these real life entities, child 1 and child 2, are termed as the objects. So this has been derived from the blueprint of child, right? All the properties and behaviors of this child 1 and child 2 has been predefined within our blueprint of child. So these are objects in Java. In order to convert them into classes in Java, what you should do is that you should use the keyword class. It's just that simple. When you define something with this keyword class, then that is converted to a class in Java. And in Java, all the properties and behaviors of a class will be defined within the curly braces. Start and end. So within this scope of these two curly braces, you have to provide the properties and behaviors. Another thing is that here we are having the properties defined as age and name, right? So these properties needs to be entered with a semicolon. So just like that, I have defined two properties for my class child. But here you have observed that for my child 1, I knew that he have an age. And I gave it as 3. What if someone tried to give something else? Some string values. What if someone tried to give in a string value? As of now, it is not a problem because age is just a variable that I have created. Okay, here this age, name, all of these are variables. All of these are termed as variables. They are capable of storing whatever values you are giving to them. You will understand that as and when we progress with this course. But as of now, just know that this age, name, and whatever properties that we are defining for our classes, they are termed as variables. And these variables are capable of accepting any values that you supply to them. But we know that as age, this property should only be holding numerical values or integer values. So we should restrict this age variable from accepting any other type of values. And that can be done with the help of data types. For example, here in this case of age, this age should only be storing integer values. And that can be specified using int keyword. This means that this age is a variable or this age is a property of my child class which is capable of accepting only integer values. If you try to supply some other values, for example, here I am giving some string value here. This would result in an error because this age is only capable of accepting integer values. Similarly, name. What is the type of value accepted by this name? String. So that needs to be specified here. If you don't know what a string is basically a collection of characters. For example, this A is a character Whereas A, B, C, D, this is a collection of character and that's a string. So if you have to supply some values directly to your variables, you can just use the equal to sign. Age equal to 10 means that I am assigning the variable age with the value 10. Similarly here, for this name, if I have to supply a string value, you know what a string is. So I am trying to supply it with it, but it is throwing an error, which means that string cannot be directly supplied as such. It should be enclosed within double quotes. This is how you will supply string values to a variable. Fine. And also if you try to store some other values, let's say, yeah, I am trying to store string to an integer. Does this work? No, because this age is a variable capable of storing only integer values. And in Java, many other data types are available. For example, float. Float is used for storing lower range of decimal values. Why did I stress on that lower range of decimal values? Because there is another thing called double for storing higher range of decimal values. So how can we differentiate between float and double? For float values, that value will be accompanied with a F. This differentiates between a float and a double value. This double is used for storing higher range of decimal values. Similarly, for storing higher range of int values, there is a data type called long. And that is differentiated from normal integer values using this L. This means that this is a long value. Similarly, you have character for storing character constants. That is a single character. Instead of a string, if you have to store a single character, you will go for character type data type. Then you have boolean for storing true or false values. It will take true or false, either of the two. Okay, so these are the data types available in Java. So as of now, we can stick on with the age and name. I hope the data type is clear to everyone. Now moving on to the methods in Java. So these behaviors of a class or the functionalities of a class are described using or defined using methods in Java. And these methods cannot be defined just like this. There is a specific syntax that needs to be followed. That is, to define a method, you should specify an access specifier followed by a return type, followed by the method name and the method braces. This is how you will define a method in Java. So just like a class, the method definition is also provided within the curly braces. That is, when you define a method, in order to provide an implementation for it, you have to enclose that implementation within the curly braces. For now, just know that within a method, you will be able to print something. You will be able to do some processing and return some values. All these things are possible. You will understand all this as we progress with the course. So falling back to our method definition, here access specifier. Access specifier is something that defines the accessibility of your method. That is from where this method can be accessed. It can be public, private or protected. Or you can just define a method without providing an access specifier. So it will fall back to a default accessibility. You will understand access specifier in our packages and access specifier module. As of now, since access specifier is an optional choice, we will just leave it there. Then comes the return type. This return type is something that defines whether our current method is returning some values or not. I have told you, right? Either you can print something within your method or do some processing and return some values. So depending upon that, if you are returning some values, the data type of that value should be specified here. Okay, I will show you a method with return type, but as of now we are going to print something within the sleep function, which means that my sleep function is not going to return any values. In such events, the return type is specified as void, nothing. No value is being returned by the sleep function. So this is how you will define a method in Java. Similarly, if you have to provide a proper implementation, or if you have to convert the seed function to an actual method in Java, what would you do? You would give an access specifier. Since it's optional, we are not going to look into it now. Followed by it, we will have a return type. Since in each function also I'm going to print something, this method won't be returning anything, so the return type would be void. And the method implementation should be contained within the curly braces. So even if you have to print something, that should be contained within the curly braces. Now coming inside this sleep function, let's say you want to print something in Java, then that should be done by using sysout statement. Okay, it's simple. System dot out dot println function, and within this println function you will be providing whatever you need to print. For example, let's say when the sleep function is accessed, it should print something like he can sleep onto the console. So if that is my requirement, I can give it inside this braces, he can sleep. So you can see that it is H E a space C A N a space S L E E P. So this is a collection of character constants. So this is a string. A string should always be contained within double quotes. So you have to contain this within double quotes. So this is how you will print a string onto the console. You will be using system.out.println function a lot for printing, and this can be used for printing or outputting something onto the console. And then we have this void it function. Here also I am going to print he can eat. So there is a short key for which you can use for giving in the sysout statement, that is sysout followed by control plus space. Okay, so when you press on this control plus space in Eclipse, it gives you suggestions. And within here, I am going to input a string that needs to be printed onto the console. He can eat. So just like that, I have created a class child in Java. A class child that is having properties like age and name, age which is capable of accepting integer values, name which is capable of accepting string values, and two methods, sleep function and eat function, which prints some strings onto the console. So that is how I have defined my child class. So now it's time to create our real life entities, that is our objects child1 and child2. But before creating our objects, we have to decide on from where JRE would start with its program execution. I mean, there is this class child here, and there is another class tester here. Maybe in an actual code, there might be a lot of classes available. So JRE won't have a clue from where to start with its execution. So in order to solve that issue, in Java, we have a main method defined. So however or how many number of classes you have, JRA would always make its entrance within this main method. So whenever you have to trace the flow of a program, you will always start from the main method, because that is how your compiler thinks, or that is how your compiler actually executes your code. The compiler always starts its execution from this main method. It has been designed as such. So this main method is actually a normal method in Java. Just like our sleep and eat function, this main method is another method in Java. Can methods in Java be existing without classes? No, methods are contained within classes, right? In order for this main method to exist, it needs to be contained within a class. So always create your main method within a class. How would you define a method in Java? Access specifier, return type, and method name, followed by the method braces. Alright, so here this is the access specifier, public. Public means that main method can be accessed from anywhere. Then there is another special keyword called static. If the static was not available here, then JRE would have to create an object of this tester class for accessing this main method. That is, if you look here within our child class, we have two methods defined, that are sleep and eat function, right? How can we access these methods? In order to access those methods, we have to create these objects. That is a mandatory thing. But there is a way by which we can access methods directly using the classes instead of creating the objects. And that is by making those methods static. I will explain that to you in detail when we talk about static and final keyword. As of now, just know that static is because JRE can access this main method without creating any objects of corresponding classes. Then void, you already know. It means that your main method is not returning any values, which it never will. And main, it is just a name of a method. That's it. And within the method arguments, our main method is accepting some parameters. You will see methods accepting parameters in our coming lectures. As of now, just understand that it is capable of accepting command line arguments. It is accepting this command line arguments in the form of a string array. You will understand what array is when we talk about arrays and collections. Okay, so what I'm trying to say is that by the end of this course, you will understand in detail about what this complete statement is. But as of now, I hope that you got a vague idea on what the statement means. All you have to know is that this is the entry point from which your program execution begins. Which means that if I have to create an object of my class child, I should start it from this line. How to create an object in Java? In Java, objects are created using new keyword, new child function. This is how you create an object. Okay, new followed by name of the class followed by function arguments. That is how you will be creating objects in Java. Now this object have all the properties defined for my child class. This object has a name, this object has a age, this object has the proper functionalities, sleep and eat functions. So this is more like a value. Now I need to store it to a variable so that I can actually use this value. Right. As of now, this new child function acts like this 10 or this ABCD. Now I need a way by which I can use it somewhere else. Wherever I need it, I should be able to use it. So for that, I am going to store it into a variable. Let's say child1. Now my child1 is a variable that is storing new child function, the object of child class. So what is the type of value stored by this child1 variable? It will be of type child. Here if you observe, what is this age? Age is a variable that is storing 10. What is 10? An integer value. So the type of value stored by age is integer. Similarly, this child1 is a variable that is storing object of type child. So the type of value stored by child1 is of type child. That is how you say. So you can say that classes are basically user defined data types. Integer is a inbuilt data type, string is also another data type. Similarly, child is a user defined data type. You can say that. Actually, this string is also a class. You will understand that in our upcoming sessions, but know that string is also a class that is used as a data type. Just like our child class, string is also a class. So basically, you can say that a class is a user defined data type. There is no wrong in that. Alright, so as of now my child1 variable is having the object of my child class stored in it. Now if I have to create another child object, what would I do? I can do the same thing, new child function. So this is a different object. This is not same as the first one. Whenever I call a new followed by the class name, then a new object will be created. Okay, so if I want to use it, I can store it into another variable. Okay, these two objects are different. Please don't get it confused. Whenever I use a new keyword, I am creating a new object. Just remember it like that. So in line 24, I have created an object and stored into a variable child1. Now, if I have to give properties like age and name to my child1, all I have to do is that child1 followed by dot operator. This dot operator is used by our objects for accessing the class properties. By using this dot operator, I can access age. You can see it is coming in the suggestion. I can access name, or I can access these functionalities. Alright, so first I will give an age equal to 3. Then child1 dot name equal to Tom. Similarly, I can access the child1 dot sleep function, child1 dot eat function, etc. Okay, so here I have accessed the property age and I have given the value 3. But you might have a doubt. Here in line number 6, I am giving it as 10. So that is a property of that child, which means that if here, let's say, you have failed to give some values, then the value that you have used to initialize this age value in line number 6 will be taken as the default value. Okay, so if you are not giving this, yeah, if you are not giving this, then the age value will be printed as 10 only. I will show you that. So for now, I have the values of age and name defined for my child one. So if I have to print it, what should I do? I should use the sysout statement. So here child1 dot age is having this 3 stored in it, right? So if I have to store that value, I can directly input child1 dot age. So that value contained in it will be printed plus child1 dot name. Both those names will be printed. So while printing, if you have to give in a space or something else between these two values, you have to provide that in form of a string. I will just print this once and then I will show you how to format your output. Okay, so here I am printing the age and name, and similarly in line number 29 and 30 I am accessing sleep function and eat function. So what happens? In line number 29, child1 dot sleep function would corresponds to a control shift towards this line number 9, where that sleep function of child class is actually defined. And within the sleep function, I am defining something like, or I am just defining a printing statement. So that will be executed. So that will be printed onto the console. After that, the control gets back to line number 30, where child1 dot eat function. Child1 is calling the property eat function of child class. So compiler gets here to line number 12, where eat function is defined. And it gets into its execution. It gets executed. He can eat will be printed on a console and comes back. Okay, so I'm going to execute this code. You can observe the output: age 3, name Tom, and the statements he can sleep and he can eat, all those are printed. So this is a bit messy, right? What if you want to format it? So I will just show you how that can be done now. So what you have to do is that if you have to format your output, whatever, if you even if you have to give in a comma or a space, you have to enclose that within the string codes. Here my requirement is, so plus operator should be used to concatenate between these values. This is a concatenation operator. But keep this in mind, if this plus operator is used between two integer values, then this concatenation operator would act like an addition operator. That is, if you are adding like child1 dot age plus child2 dot age, what happens? Both of those integer value will get added. Here, since I am using plus operator between string values and integer values, this would lead to concatenation. I am going to print this now. You can observe the output. So this is how you will create an object in Java. Now you can create the object child2 in the same way. Okay, I have implemented child2. I have created child2 object as well. Now we can look into the program flow. In line number 24, I am creating child1 object using new keyword. Line number 25, I am initializing the age parameter of child1 object. Alright, so what happens here is that my child1 object will look into the age parameter of child class. Okay, there is a parameter called age which is initialized with the value 10. But in line number 25, what am I doing? I am overriding it with 3. So instead of this 10 for child1, it will be 3. Does that mean this value is changed to 3? No. Okay, Please note that that is not changed. This age value of child 1 is changed. Okay, I hope that is fine. And in line number 26, child 1 dot name is equal to Tom. There's a parameter called name here. It has been initialized with some value, but I have initialized it with another value for child 1. So this value will be taken. Okay, so for child 1, the age and name has been initialized. And compiler comes to line number 27, where the values child 1 dot age and child 1 dot name are being printed. Now compiler comes to the next lines, child 1 dot sleep function, which means that the control gets shifted towards the sleep function. This gets executed and that gets printed onto the console. Comes to line number 30, where eat function is being called. So my compiler comes to this 12, where eat function is defined and that gets executed, and he can eat is printed onto the console. After its execution, compiler comes back to line number 32, where child 2 is being created. And for child 2, I am initializing the values age and name. So for child 2, the value of age is 1, and for child 2, the value of name is Jerry. Similarly, when it comes to line number 35, they are being printed, and just like in the previous case, child 2 dot sleep function and child 2 dot eat function will function. So let me just execute this quickly for you. You can observe the output. So what would happen if I try to print child1 dot name here? Will it be Tom or Jerry? It will be Tom, right? Because for child1 the name is Tom. I hope you understood the difference. For child 2 only the name is Jerry. At the same time, if I am not going to define anything here, before that I will just execute this, run as Java application. You can see it was printing Tom. Why? Because I am accessing the name of child1, not child2. So instead of that, let's say that I am not going to initialize anything here. So what would happen? This child1 dot name is not initialized with any value, so it will fall back to the default value that has been initialized. ABCD will be printed. I hope that is clear. So if it's clear, that's it. That's it for this video. I hope the video was informative. I hope you were able to get a clear basics on how to create classes and objects in Java. These are like the most important yet the basic concepts in Java. You will be interacting with this a lot throughout. So with that, I guess we can conclude for this video. Until the next time, it's your friend Sajin. Have a great day.